Yesterday we talked about solving for y, to put it into y equals mx plus b form. The whole reason we do that is so that we can find slope and y-intercept, m and b. Find m and b. So yesterday I just had you stop once you got y by itself, once you solved for y. Now today you're going to have to solve for y again, and then tell me what m and b are. So if you get a problem like this, I always see this happen. People say they read the directions, it says find m and b, and they say m is equal to 12 and b is equal to 8. And they're like, well, you always told us that m is the number by x and b is the number by itself. That's true, but it's after you get y by itself, after you've solved for y. Once we solve for y, there's no longer going to be a 12 in front of the x, and there's no longer going to be an 8 all by itself. So these are going to change after we solve for y. So you have to solve for y first. You can't just say what m and b are from this if you haven't solved for y. So let's solve for y. I picked an easy one. You would subtract the 12x to the other side, and then you would divide everything by 4, and you would get y is equal to 2 minus 3x. 4 divided by 4 is 1. You don't even have to write that there. I usually never write that there. I just move it to the other side and divide it by both. So there you go. That's what the work was like yesterday. Now you can say m is equal to negative 3 and b is equal to 2. Don't make the mistake of automatically thinking that the first number is m and the second number is b. Remember, m is with x, b is by itself. All right, how can this get trickier? That may seem easy to you. It can get trickier if you have fractions and if you have a negative y. So let me just show you both all in the same problem. 3x minus 5y is equal to 20. All right, find m and b, same type of problem. Well, you got to solve for y first. You get the hang of it here. First step is to solve for y. So we want to get the 3x to the other side. You have to subtract 3x to the other side. People want to add 3x because they see that this is a subtraction sign and you're used to doing the opposite, so you're on the right track. But this is not a negative 3x. This is a positive 3x. So you have to subtract 3x to the other side. This minus right here goes with the 5. It has nothing to do with the 3x. Forget about that one. Just focus on the 3x and what's in front of it. There's nothing in front of it, so it's positive. So you subtract 3x to the other side, you get 20 minus 3x. I didn't write anything here yet because I want to tell you that this minus sign does not go away. It stays with the 5y. So don't just write 5y here. Make sure you write negative 5y. Now the last step is to get y by itself by dividing by 5, but dividing by negative 5. You always have to divide by the coefficient, whether it's positive or negative. If it's positive, it's easy. You just divide by the number. If it's negative, it stays with the number. These do not get separated. This is staying with the number. So you're dividing by negative 5 here. So 20 divided by negative 5 minus 3x divided by negative 5. Positive divided by negative is a negative. So this is y equals negative 4. And this is a negative divided by a negative. That makes a positive. But what is 3 divided by 5? It's some crazy decimal that I don't even care about. You don't have to turn this into a decimal. All you have to do is reduce your fractions. 20 over 5 reduces to 4 over 1, and I don't need to see 1 as a denominator. Well, at least not for y-intercept. So that's all. If it goes into there evenly, you're good. You're fine. You know how to do that. If the denominator does not go into the numerator evenly, if you cannot reduce this or divide nicely, just leave it a fraction. Don't turn this into 0.6. However, your fraction should be plus 3/5 x, because a negative divided by a negative makes a positive. All right, that's the tricky part here. If one of these terms over here is negative and you're dividing by a negative, it turns it positive. Basically, when you divide by a negative, it changes the sign of both of these. This went from a positive to a negative. This went from a negative to a positive. Whenever you divide or multiply by a negative, it switches the sign. So if you start off positive, you end up negative. If you start off negative, you end up positive. So those are the things that I wanted to stress today. Be careful when y is negative. You have to divide by a negative, and that's going to change your signs over here. And then when you get a fraction, don't turn it into a decimal, because remember, slope is rise over run. So if you keep it as 3/5, you know how much to go up and over to get from one point to the next. If you turn it into 0.6, that doesn't make a lot of sense when it comes to rise over run. It's not wrong. 3/5 and 0.6 are the same thing. It just doesn't work for slope as well as 3/5 does, so leave it as a fraction. All right, that's your lesson for today. You guys ran into problems like this yesterday, but you didn't have to name what the slope and the y-intercept was. So if you turned it into a decimal or you got the negatives wrong, it was a good first lesson. It was a good learning experience. Now you got to get it right. Because on a test, they don't care if you can get y by itself. They want to know, do you know what slope is and do you know what y-intercept is? You can't make any mistakes. So this is the final product here. Don't let me down.